All right, so I did my presentation on the evolution of radiology. So far back into radiology, it actually starts with a German physicist, Wilhelm Röntgen, who first discovered X-rays. He found out these rays could pass through human tissues, but not bones or metals. And then one of his first experiments was taking an X-ray of his wife's hand, which can be seen to the left of it. And then in the year of 1946, we have nuclear magnetic resonance, which was created by two American physicists named Edward Purcell and Felix Bloch, who discovered NMR, or nuclear magnetic resonance, which allows for the analysis of molecular structures by measuring their interaction of spins. And it's most commonly used to investigate a matter's physical, chemical, and biological properties. So as we can see, we have a computer, a spectrometer, and then a superconducting magnet, which generates a magnetic field that allows for the spins and images that are created. And the samples placed in this are exposed to the radio waves, which cause the spins and overall allow us to investigate the matter's physical properties. And in the year of 1955, we have ultrasounds. So, as we probably know, ultrasounds are extremely common nowadays, but back in the day, they were created by Ian Donald, who is a Scottish physician, and he designed the prototype for the idea of ultrasound. But they weren't really medically usable until like the late 1950s or early 1960s, and they produced sound waves to create images inside the body, and they are commonly used to diagnose pain, swelling, infection. And then in 1967, we have the CT scan. So CT scan was invented by Sir Godfrey Housenfield, and it was conducted on a human in Wimbledon in 1971. And these scans are kind of different between ultrasounds because they can detect bone and joint pains, but they can also help in diagnosing diseases such as cancer, heart disease, and liver diseases. They're usually pretty commonly used to diagnose internal injuries. And the next, in 1973, we have MRI imaging. And this was created by a American chemist, Paul Latterber. And then these use a large magnet and radio waves to view a person's organs. They can they're most commonly used in like sports. If a player has like torn ACL, MCL, ligament, or something like that, and they're most commonly used to scan a person's brains and spinal cords. But they can also detect torn ligaments or tumors, as mentioned before. Then in 1974, we have the development of the PET camera. And so this was invented by Michael Phelps, an American, not the swimmer. And this test can reveal a person's tissues and organs as well as their functionality. And they use a radioactive drug. In some cases, they can detect diseases before they manifest in other tests. That shouldn't say diseases, in other tests. And then around in 1980, we saw that MRIs were readily available in all hospitals nationwide. And then in 1990, we saw that prenatal ultrasounds were more common now. So commonly, this test is used for a fetal stress test, or measuring the ability of like how healthy the baby is in a pregnant mother. And then in 2014, pretty recently, we have the invention of the human color X-ray scanner. So in New Zealand, the University of Canterbury was given $12 million to create the first colored X-ray scanner. And then this kind of technology has the potential to improve cancer detection by providing images that show whether tumor is more vascular or fatty tissue. And it can also show that if a tissue is cancerous or not. It can be used to provide more much detail in bone density diagnose osteoporosis, and assess a person for risk bone fractures. And this is just a little video that kind of ties everything in together.
The history of medical technology has been shaped by groundbreaking innovations. 125 years ago, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen discovered X-rays and changed the world. Just a short time later, our engineers developed the first X-ray tubes specifically designed for medical use. Their quality was recognized by Röntgen himself. On November 3, 1896, he wrote,
Ihre Röhren sind in der Tat sehr gut.
Röntgen then noticed that several crystals
It took 15 minutes for Röntgen to capture the world-famous first shot of his wife's hand. By 1909, We could take X-rays with our flash unit in just a few milliseconds, making the contours of the heart visible for the very first time. With our innovations, we were able to capture more and more details of the body, continuously lower radiation doses, and shorten examination times to enable precision medicine and human care.
Ein Somatom besitzt hervorragende Eigenschaften zur Darstellung transversaler Schichten.
Die Spiralserie bietet sich an, die Bildfolgen schnell im Kinobetrieb ablaufen zu
In
lassen.
2005, we launched the world's first computed tomography scanner with 2 X-ray tubes and captured the very first complete record of a beating heart in a split second. Today, based on image processing data, we can create 3-dimensional photorealistic images from inside the body. We can take you on a virtual journey through human anatomy that is more realistic than ever before, and we truly can put the secrets of the heart in your hand. Röntgen's discovery in 1895 was a milestone in the history of medicine. His spirit of innovation still motivates and inspires us to continue shaping the future of healthcare for the good of people.
Then just a few facts before I end up this video. So during World War I, Marie Curie actually established the Petite Curie's mobile radiograph unit, which was used to assist battlefield surgeons on the front lines. And then in 1927, 37% of radiologic technologists were actually nuns. And then today we have over 330,000 techs. And then radiation therapy also became specialized in 1964. The first patient brain scan was done through a CT was performed in 1971. And the way this ties into my personal research is I'm planning on going into the medical field. So being able to distinguish between which test I need for what type of patient and then being able to review their x-ray or CT to figure out what's actually going on with them is extremely important. And then medical imaging itself is just a vast, I guess, field. It's pretty interesting, honestly. As I was going through these different tests, I realized that, oh, if a patient has joint pain, I need to use this test versus this test. And it allows the doctors to basically examine the internal structure of the body. And then through imaging, doctors are able to, as I mentioned before, diagnose and monitor diseases, injuries, and then like abnormalities of organs. And thank you so much.